are back from the Silver Creek Studios for another episode of Get a Load of This. I'm Jared.
I'm Ryan.
Hey, it's Joe, and we're about ready to turn this mother out.
Yeah.
We're going to get twisted today.
Twisted.
Yeah,
we're all getting high.
I'm terrified.
I don't know why, but for some reason, well, I kind of know why. I thought it'd be interesting to start talking about serial killers. And
we're all very concerned about Jared's mental health right now.
He's holding a huge knife right now.
Yeah.
Put down the meat cleaver.
Yeah. Hopefully people know Morse code and they're picking up our code, Joe.
I can't wheeze an A.
We're giving you the location of Silver Creek Studios, so please come save us.
Yeah, but the doors are locked.
They recently captured the Golden State Killer, and my wife's been listening to a few podcasts about that. And so that got me kind of thinking about it, but I think we're all kind of fascinated with serial killers and murderers, and I thought, we could talk about some of the specific ones, but I kind of want to just talk, or at least part of the time talk about why is that? Why are we so interested in death and killing and murders and specifically serial killers?
What's crazy about that is I honestly thought this was just my perverted mind that was into this shit.
Been a closet for all this time.
Hey, let's talk about serial killers. I'm like, what?
Are they reading my thoughts?
Yeah.
Shit, they're on to me.
Did I leave my diary out? But I'm into them too. And
okay, I guess I feel like a lot of people are.
I like it. I think it's because, again, like we talked before, it's the unknown. I don't know. My mind doesn't work like
right. Well, based on the number of documentaries and shit that's out there on Netflix and Amazon and movies and TV shows. We talked about The Following, and then the Netflix show Mindhunter, which I watched, which was really good. I don't know a lot about real world stories of serial killers. I don't know the history of them. I mean, some of them sound familiar to me, but I definitely enjoy watching shows about kind of analyzing the mind of the serial killer. And I think it's just human nature to be curious, to try to understand how someone could have that deviant of a thought.
I will say this though, the curiosity of the deviant thought that's out there is a little off anymore. My wife and I and my daughter, we all watch Criminal Minds religiously when it comes on. The macabre shit that comes out of this show is way past. So the season just ended, and they had like a 2-parter. So this guy was going around killing people, and he took a fucking drill and was stabbing this guy in the face while the drill's running. And they're showing this. That's insane to me.
Yeah, it
frightened me.
Yeah.
My wife and daughter just sitting there, like on their phone, and went to the commercial. They're like, I said, doesn't that freak you out? Isn't that crazy? I mean,
yeah.
And then I always go to these writers. They sit in this room and they come up with
it. Yeah,
those are the sick
you gotta watch
that are
out
out
for
there.
those
Holy
bastards.
shit! That asshole goes home to a wife and 3 kids.
Right. What'd you do? How was your day, honey? Came up with a great storyline.
Yeah, put a DeWalt bit in some guy's face 9 times. That's nuts. And he's just like, how do you go to a ball game after that?
But probably the sad thing is he probably didn't come up with that. He probably read it in an actual story or
probably
some level of truth to it. Yeah.
I mean, but they have to spend that shit a little bit.
But are humans of the 21st century, are we numb to these kinds of things?
See, I'm not.
I think you're probably an exception. I think majority of people,
in that shit.
We watch The Walking Dead and we watch these, Saw, and we watch these movies that are extremely gory.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where it's like, oh yeah, I've seen a drill in someone's face before. I've seen someone get. Well, no, but I've seen. Now you have, and so
I agree. I think to a certain extent we are getting numb to that. I mean, obviously, movies and shows are more violent now than they ever were.
Right.
But I still think there's a difference. Like, it's one thing to see it on a show or The Walking Dead or whatever,
and then hear about it.
It's another thing. Well, yeah. But it's another thing to go do it, right? To say I'm numb to violence now, so I have no problem cutting somebody's head off. Like, whoa, wait a minute. That's because those two things are unrelated.
Well, we're sane people, so let's establish that simple fact that
my mind does not work that way.
No.
That shit, I couldn't cut a doll's head off. I think I'd have a hard time.
I think I know these guys well enough, and they know me well enough, so we can all say that people we surround ourselves with are sane individuals, and we can't comprehend, we can't fathom doing something like that, which I think is why we're so
Is that why it's interesting?
By it,
right, the intrigue of it all.
And I think the majority of people are like that. Unfortunately, though, like the TV show The Following, and like I think a lot of copycat, type crimes, is that there are unstable people out there that see these things on television and movies, and it plants a seed, it plants an idea, which is why these things continue to happen. And I don't think there's any way to fix it because
and some people do
the same intrigue causes, so it's like a cause and effect. The same intrigue that keeps us entertained, the sane, also fuels the fire,
perpetuates it.
By making a big deal out of it, by making it a news story or a movie or a show.
Right.
Then people who might be inclined to do that think they're going to get some degree of fame.
And I honestly think they should come up with a great show or movie or whatever about how banks give fat guys just money. Just give money to the, that's a fat guy with a lot of, there's a lot of hair on that fat guy.
It looks like a jolly man. Let me give him
money.
That's so fascinating. I want to see more about that.
And you can listen in on Get a Load of This.
That's right. Well, Ryan, I think you brought up off the air that a lot of these serial killers seem to want fame or want recognition for what they're doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's I think
that may not be why they're doing it, but they want recognition after they've done it.
I'm stealing this idea, not stealing it, but it's just something I picked up watching Mindhunter, which is, by the way, highly recommended show on Netflix, and it's, I think it's 10 episodes. There's only one season up. It's very good. And they kind of get into that a little bit, that they all want to leave some type of calling card. They don't want the notoriety and the press then, but they definitely want people to know that they're the ones doing it. Not that by name, but they want to be the Zodiac Killer. They want to be the, whatever.
It's like BTK, the Dennis Rader, who was in Oklahoma or whatever, bind, torture, kill. That's what he would do.
Yeah. And that was his calling card, if you will. Right. And so that way the FBI knew, they almost want to be caught in some cases too, I think, that's why they leave these little breadcrumbs.
That might be their reach to sanity.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? I mean, they're deviant minds, and we'll never, no FBI agent will never understand them, and that's why we'll continually be intrigued by them. I was saying earlier before we turn things on here that it's similar to a lot of things. With anything that we can't explain, we tend to, as humans, we pour ourselves deeper into it. And whether it's the sun, the moon, and the stars, we explore the sun, the moon, and the stars. If it's miracles, we start to explore how these things happen, or we make up how religion is really found its roots, is because people couldn't explain things and they had to find a way to make sense of it. And I think that's similar to serial killers and deviant minds, is that, and why we watch these shows and why we want to
make sense of it,
just to try to make sense out of the insanity that is these deviants.
And then so that goes like Ted Bundy. So Ted Bundy, and I said earlier, he prolonged his life by trying to make sense of what he had done
for the FBI,
so that they would have like a barometer, so to speak, of how crazy he was. This is why I did this. This is why I slept with a dead body in the woods for 3 nights, and he did. He went to some lake, and he would entice a woman to come back to this cabin, and he'd tie her up, and then he tied her up, and then went back out and got another one and brought her back. And when he brought her back, he killed the first one,
made the other one watch.
And then he partially buried him, and then slept out there.
Jesus. So clearly not not all there.
I mean, that's Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, is like we talked about the guy, the Golden State guy. I mean, this guy lived a normal life and hadn't killed anybody for some time.
Yeah, 30 years.
Yeah, we don't think. Yeah. And he just said, "All right, well, I'm done with that. Yeah. I'm gonna be a cop in Texas somewhere and live my life normally."
No, I thought he was a cop.
He was a cop first.
Oh, he was a cop first.
He was a cop in Austin.
What did he do after? What's he been doing all these years? I
don't even remember. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Puppet shows at the mall.
Yeah.
Hey.
But he was married with, I think, 2 or 3 kids, and I mean, they're adults now. So yeah, I mean, he kind of moved on with life. I think they did say though that he continued to call and sort of torment his victims decades later. He would still terrorize them. Yeah, and leaves just scary messages.
That's fucking
and stuff.
insane.
But it's crazy that he walked among us. I mean, you could have been standing behind that guy at a Quick Trip. You could have been. I mean, you could have been sitting next to him at a movie or a baseball game.
You could have been doing a podcast with him.
I mean,
right, Jared.
Jared's got a sordid past.
Yeah. 2 clicks,
Never
blink.
know.
2 clicks, blink.
But I've always been fascinated by it. I think I was asking you guys earlier, what was the first time you remember being interested in that or exposed to murder or serial killers or whatever? I vaguely recall, I don't even know what it was, but as a kid, it was probably some like 3-part miniseries or something about Jack the Ripper on, Channel 4 or something.
Yeah.
And it was just this, I remember being probably shocked by it, but also really interested by somebody that's killing multiple people, the same way, the same types. It was my first exposure to a serial killer. And, of course that was, forever ago, but it was just, I think that's when I first became interested. And then, things like, the real cases, but even the movies like Silence of the Lambs and, which at the time was terrifying. It's barely even, you don't even flinch at it anymore when you watch Silence of the Lambs.
Potatoes.
At the time, that was disturbing to a lot of people.
I agree with you. I remember watching a mini series on CBS or whatever. Mark Harmon played Ted Bundy. It was called A Stranger Among Us or something like that, or A Killer Among Us. And that was my first delve into that. And then I remember, like, not that long after is when they executed him, like 1988. New Coke was still out. Terrible. But sidebar to Jack the Ripper. Little known fact, he and the Loch Ness Monster used to date. 6 months.
I think I've heard that.
How'd they meet?
They met in Loch Ness.
Okay. Tinder?
I don't know if it was Tinder or not. Grinder. I think it was Grinder.
Yeah.
So, J-Date. I think it was J-Date. Now I think about it, I think that's what it was.
Loch Ness seems like more of a Craigslist kind of back page guy,
Maybe, yeah.
Well, he's kind of a freaky dude.
Old Nessie. Yeah. It's a mighty fine tale you got there, Nessie.
So is there a particular serial killer that you're most interested in?
Ted Bundy, definitely.
Ted Bundy?
It's not like I came up with him or anything. Me and Ted, we went to Florida State together.
Taught him everything he knows.
Yeah.
So in case anybody doesn't know, can you give us a few details on who Ted Bundy is, what he do, how he do it?
Theodore Robert Bundy.
Wow.
Jesus.
He's a sick fuck. He was a ladies' man. That was his thing. He could entice women. He was very charismatic.
Yeah.
Good looking man, I guess. I thought he was goofy looking. Drove a VW Bug Beetle. Loved him. That was his thing. That was what he did. He would steal them.
Steal the Beetles?
Yeah, and drive them.
Really?
I mean, unless you got caught. He actually got caught for some murders in Washington and was extradited back down to Colorado for murders there. Broke out of jail, enticed a woman guard, and got out of the courthouse, went to Florida. Where in Florida, he's probably most known for his Florida murders at Florida State, Florida State, where he went into a sorority house and killed like 4 women in there. And then he had a downward spiral from there. His last kill, which is probably the most disturbing to me, was a 12-year-old girl. Picked her up like after school. She was at her grade school or her middle school, and picked her up. Basically, got out of the van, walked right up to her, blasted her in the face, drug her in the van, and killed her. And he was strung out at the time. He was
that wasn't his normal MO, right?
Right. And that's basically what caught him. He got caught driving or something because everybody's seen the van or whatever he was driving, or it might have been a bug. I don't know. I don't remember that.
So what this was in the 80s?
No, he got caught. Well, yeah, he got caught
70s, 80s.
Yes, mostly 70s. I think his last murder was in 86.
Okay.
And they executed him in 87 or 88.
So can you imagine if that happened today? And
it wouldn't happen with forensics science.
Well, not even with forensics, but with the way that news travels today as opposed to 1986. I mean, the police would be just decimated by the press.
The Amber Alert alone on that young girl would
right.
Yeah, I get Amber Alerts 400 miles away from me.
But it could never happen today. I mean, I'm not saying never say never, but
it could happen today.
More challenging.
There are still, scale.
Yeah, I'm sure there are still serial killers doing their thing, but it had to be so much easier back then, before the DNA and the forensics and the social media and just all of that. Yeah, you could get away with it so much easier.
But now maybe social media makes it easier to entice the victim in today's world. So there's two sides of the coin, I suppose.
Yep.
I don't know. They, it seemed like back then it was crimes of opportunity. Probably still, they go after drug users or prostitutes or whatever. And that's like how BTK did that. The Green River Killer did that.
And some of these killers, they justify their killings based on, we talked a little bit before the show.
Thinning the herd, so to speak?
That they were deserving in their mind because they were a prostitute or because they were whatever they were, whatever problems they had. The killer would say, "Well, I'm doing the world a favor," and their fucked up mind. That's how they.
Their mind works differently, and that's just them justifying it.
Right.
Yeah. I think we're kind of classifying maybe all serial killers together, whatever. I think obviously they're not all the same and have different methods and motives. But you do have the ones that kind of either have a reason, like you're saying, or they're justifying it, or they'll have, a lot of times it's a sexual connotation or, an urge or whatever.
So what's yours? I mean, now that we're all locked in here.
What's my urge? I kind of, yeah.
He likes chubby white guys.
Yeah. Looking good, Joe.
Are you against the beard? Please.
It's itchy. No, but you got some that just seem to not randomly choose victims, but like, for instance, the Zodiac, I don't necessarily think it was this like sexual urge, or he wasn't necessarily mutilating the bodies. He would just basically shoot them, whoever he came across. He wanted the recognition. He was leaving his symbol behind.
But he killed on certain astrological times.
Yeah, he had other things going on as far as why and when he was doing it.
I mean, he would even tell them before it happened. He'd be like, well, you got 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do it. And, I mean, probably the most taunting that a serial killer ever did was probably him, I would think. And has still never been caught.
Right. Which, I was going to say, I think earlier we were talking about what's your favorite or most interested, but Zodiac's up there with me. I think partially because he hasn't been caught, though I do think they have some pretty good ideas of who he was. But
Ted Krasinski.
Think the same guy, huh?
Yeah. They've spun that yarn, but
I've heard that. I don't. Yeah,
because of the way the time is and where he was at that time,
right. I don't necessarily buy that, but maybe. But yeah, the fact that he wanted the recognition, that he was sending these, encrypted codes, and
they still haven't even cracked all those codes.
Right. Yeah,
that's nuts.
It is nuts.
So he's arguably a genius as well.
Yeah, or he at least had a good code book that he used.
Somebody should have flipped his evil good button.
Right. But disturbing that he always had a plan. He always had a timing, and that didn't catch him. Like, that's terrifying to me. Obviously, I think by now if he's even still alive, he's an old man or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think if the Zodiac Killer came in here right now and was like, I'm the Zodiac Killer. Like, I'm going to fucking hurt you, old man.
We're all okay.
Knock his cane out from under him and you're fine.
I'm going to kill you with your own knife, asshole. You lost. You lost.
Yeah.
But I get to win.
Yeah. Ryan, you were kind of saying you didn't really, necessarily know about a lot of the different cases, but did you have maybe a favorite movie that talks about serial killers or show?
Well, I already talked about The Following and the Mindhunter. I don't necessarily. You mentioned a Copycat.
That's
that
a
movie.
great movie.
I really like that movie. I don't know that I have a favorite. I think I like the genre, but I think it's all about just wanting to better understand the insanity. That's what drives me to watch those types of things. But if I had to pick something, I would if I could watch The Following again, like I never saw it before. If they were to make a show similar to that first season of that show was just amazing. Yeah. It was completely enthralling. The whole storyline of this incarcerated serial killer and all of this whole herd of people, this cult of people that were doing his bidding. It was amazing. Great writing.
Yeah,
great
that
show.
kind of gets into a whole sort of similar but other topic. It's like the cult followers. But
well, you get into not Koresh, but you get into Manson and
Jones.
I mean just a lot. I mean, but again, I mean it all goes back to this. Sorry, Tom Cruise.
No, I'm not.
It all goes back to the same deviant, or not the same, but similar deviant behaviors of what makes a mind work that way, what makes a mind say, this seems like a good idea. And in some cases, it's, I'm going to go cut the heads off these people and put it in a deep freezer in my basement. In other words, I'm going to wear their skin.
Because it's better for their facial skin.
Right. And in other cases, it's, no, I'm going to go join this cult in Waco, Texas, and this makes perfect sense to me, and this is what my calling is. I mean, I call that deviant behavior on all fronts.
Well, yeah, because it really didn't make sense, the Branch Davidians. And did you know that Waco, Texas is actually an acronym? We ain't coming out. But to, God damn it, I lost it already. What you were talking about?
The movies and shows. No.
I lost it.
Well, I feel like my favorite of the serial killer movies is Seven, without a doubt.
Seven
right up there would be Silence of the Lambs, but Seven is kind of, it's got
Kevin Spacey, sick fuck Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah. But it kind of incorporates the twisted, crazy killer with serial killings and religious connotations.
Well, what makes the movies more enjoyable, I think, is whenever you see the torment to the cops that are hunting them, and that's where The Following, Kevin Bacon in that show was amazing, and then and Brad Pitt in Seven, and
both of them, but in Seven, the torment, I guess, would be more so the unfolding or the deraveling of that serial killer, and they're just finding out more and more. When they find all the books, they're like, it would take 100 cops 10 years to read all of this shit that he wrote down. And
but watching the already insane going and perpetrating things and bobbing and weaving through what the police throws at him, and then watching the police almost in every movie, you watch the police force go crazy. You watch Kevin Bacon go crazy. You watch
Morgan
Freeman, Brad Pitt just lose their fucking mind trying to understand the insanity that they're chasing down. That's what I think makes those movies so compelling and so interesting, is that they all have that similar format.
I actually had a book idea that I was going to write about a serial killer and a detective that was investigating these crimes, and he kind of, like you're saying, he was following along and trying to understand it to the point of where he started to identify with it and committing the same crimes himself, the same acts.
What was that show on Showtime where the guy was
Dexter?
Dexter, yeah. I never watched it. I mean,
that was very good.
I hear it was no.
It ended stupid though.
Yeah, spoiler alert there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's still a good series to watch.
But it's a great series to watch.
That goes back to what I was saying about how many serial killers justify their crimes. I mean, Dexter was justifying his crime. He was a serial killer, no doubt about it. Also a police officer, and
his dad was a police officer and knew he was a serial killer. You could see it in his son,
right?
And he's like, "Okay, well, if you're going to be a serial killer, and I see this in you, I want you not to get caught. So
let's kill bad people."
Yeah, right. And so
But was Dexter wrong? Because he was killing people who were killers, right? So
but
maybe he was doing a service to society.
Not always he didn't. He killed people that it worked out in his favor.
Yeah. It became that way. It started
out that he would,
good intentions, and then it was like, well, I'm about to get caught, so I better kill this cop
someone else.
who's about to catch me, that kind of thing. But but that's what's interesting is how your motivations change. Why do you keep doing what you're doing? I think, with in real life with these serial killers, they every once in a while when these investigators are looking into. They don't understand. Well, this one's a little different. What happened here? And it's like probably shit hit the fan, and he had to improvise and get out of the house, and he killed the family too, or whatever. That
Who knows?
So yeah.
Who knows with these delinquents?
You never know.
You never know.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's. I think. It'll, like I said earlier, it'll never stop. It'll keep perpetuating. Yeah. It's going to create, and probably the biggest problem with all of this is that we do find entertainment with it, which is what causes the problem. It's the same thing with the shooters in down in Florida, or these school shootings or mass shootings.
Go back to the DC sniper.
Well, right, yeah.
I remember seeing assholes walking around with like DC sniper T-shirts.
Jesus, but
that's fucked up.
But the fact that now the press is trying to avoid give more today than they have been, giving out the killer's name, the shooter's name, because they don't want to martyr him. They want
all three names. You have to give out all three. Names.
Yeah. What is it with that? Giving out the middle name.
Well, and so when you meet people, so I do this. You say their middle name. And you say it in their head, and you're like, oh, okay. He's all right.
It doesn't ring like a like a serial killer's name. It's not Mark David Chapman.
Yeah,
not a serial killer. He was just an assassin. But
and seeing
another crazy
John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
That's why they use all three names, because Paul Gacy
is a good guy.
He got fucked when they just said John Gacy.
Paul Gacy owns owns a comic store in Duluth.
Right. No, I recycle. I'm a recycler.
I'm a good person. I swear to God.
Yeah. Like the guy whose name was Al Qaeda.
That poor
son of a bitch.
But I think it's a good idea.
Motors.
It's a good idea to not, if they do find the next serial killer, is don't give them so much stardom. Even though it's the fleeting 7 seconds of fame or 15 minutes of fame,
here's
whatever.
The thing with that too. Okay, so just as much as the serial killer gets famous, they do. You go back to the DC sniper. That cop, that main cop that was out there every night, giving us updates and shit, he got famous too.
Well, right.
And so,
but that wasn't his goal.
No, I don't agree with it. I agree. I don't think that was his goal either. But I could tell you right now, if I was a cop and I was out hunting some sick fuck, which is what they are, and I caught him, and hell yeah, I'm breaking out like I'm breaking out the champagne. And I'm like, I caught this son of a bitch, and we're gonna sing his name, the whole thing. Yeah, I'll give out a social security number.
But you look at like and these aren't serial killers. I mean, these are just mass homicides. But Dylan Klebold and what was the other guy's name from? Why I don't remember that one and not the other kid's name.
Useless turd. I think.
Well, yeah, I mean they're pieces of shit, but we remember their names, and their objective was to get famous. Number one, they wanted to kill people because they didn't like them, because maybe for whatever reason they didn't like their schoolmates. But one of their objectives was to become famous for that 15 minutes of fame. And I think in a lot of these, cases, whether they're serial killers or mass shootings or whatever, that's one of their motives. It's one of their objectives, is to gain notoriety.
Right. I feel like
they don't even get to see it. They don't get to enjoy it. So, and then notoriety. So it falls onto their parents or their siblings.
Right.
And
they've
then
got to deal with the
blowback.
Yeah.
So John Wayne Gacy's sister, or
these aren't rational thinkers, though. I don't think
so. Okay. There was a guy. He was called the Iceman. Kukleski. I don't know. He was a hitman.
Val Kilmer.
No,
different Iceman.
Yeah, not that asshole.
That's right. I am dangerous.
He was a hitman for the mob, and he killed like 100 people, and and then he got caught. He was a great dad. Like, he was at Christmas Day, he was sitting there and he got a call, you need to handle this. And he got up and went and did it and came back and built bikes for the
But the mob's different.
Well, because we love, God love the mob. God bless the mob.
Well, no, but that's a good question, though. Why they're not different? They're still killers in the same way. Yeah. But for whatever reason, through movies and television,
they're hailed.
Yeah, I mean, we look at them as like, they're the underdog. They're
I think it's different in that it's one thing to say you're willing to kill someone if they did something wrong, or you think they did, or or whatever, or you just don't value human life. It's another to like, stalk and hunt and torture and
I honestly think
get off on that or whatever.
I think the difference between a gangster and a serial killer is the sexual component.
You think?
Yeah. Al Capone had sex with no one that he killed.
Yeah, good point. I got to tell you guys this, and this is weird, but I'm having deja vu. Like we've had this conversation before, and that's the God's honest truth. I'm having a flashback here that we've talked about this before. But
sex without proposal.
Well, I just not necessarily that, but really, I think I've asked this question before. Maybe I haven't, but I mean, what would it take for you to kill someone? What would it take for you to take another life?
I'd have to probably do eye for an eye type thing.
Yeah, I mean, so what popped into my mind? I'll tell you what. So if my family was threatened in any way,
eye for an eye.
Yeah, absolutely, I would take a life without if my child's life or my wife or my parents or my sister or my nieces, anybody's life was threatened, I would not hesitate to take that person's life.
So I've actually spun this in my head, and I will do this. So if someone came into my home and threatened my family, not only if you didn't kill me and I got the upper hand, I wouldn't kill you right away. I would duct tape your ass in my basement for like 3 weeks. And I would the first week I would dress in a chicken suit. And I wouldn't even say anything. I would just cluck at you. And I'd be like, cluck, cluck. And he'd be like, why are you doing this to me? Please let me out. I'm like, cluck, cluck. I mean, I would torment, and then like next week I would come down and be like, that was fucked up. That chicken, what was that all about? Man. You know, like try to let him confide and everything, and then the last week I would just fuck him up. You know, I'm talking plug him into the wall, fuck him. But yeah, I'd be like, oh, I agree, that was nuts. You want to get out of here?
Me too.
You know, I know some people upstairs, and I could probably work some magic and get you out of here. I know you weren't trying to hurt anybody, or you just needed a necklace or something.
What if that guy? Yeah, what if that guy? That's all he wanted. Is he was
fucked?
He was hard. He was down on his luck and out of cash and
wrong house.
And you left your front door open and
wrong house.
And he's like, hey, they got some steakums in there probably.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
bet
go.
They do. Wrong house. I'm telling you, I got the chicken suit too. I ain't fucking around, man. It's better than a gun.
I think week 2 you should come down in the Superman costume.
Maybe. I don't know. All I know is, why are you doing this to me? Just let me go. I won't tell anyone. I'll be like, what? just look right at him.
Yeah. That would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, right. Just like you did coming into my house, asshole.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, Jared, what would it take for you to take a life?
Yeah, I think obviously someone threatening your own family.
That's the easy answer, yeah.
Yeah, I mean like your immediate family, right. You start getting into like third cousins and stuff. You'd have to think about it a little bit, but
yeah,
act that and cutting me off in traffic. Come into your house.
But we had, back when we were debating the whole gun control thing, my wife brought up the point. She would have to think really hard and long about shooting someone that broke into our house with a gun and was threatening our kids, and I was like, what? How? You'd have to think about it?
Give me a moment.
Yeah, there would be no thought.
No.
Only thought was, is this loaded and let me go.
Right.
Yeah.
My only thought, and honestly that's how fucked up I am, I'd be like, will the house be haunted now? I mean, like, I'll have to move anyhow.
Yeah,
shit.
damn it.
The carpet's fucked.
Resale value's gone in a shitter.
Yeah, someone died in the house.
Yeah, that's gonna
by my hand.
Piss your neighbors off, man. That's no bueno.
No. Well, I don't know. We could get into a whole other, all the details of different killings or something. We don't need to go there, but I just think it's interesting to me, as much as the serial killers are fascinating to me. I think it's interesting that so many people are interested in it and fascinated and watch these movies and read these books and listen to these podcasts.
Fucked up, man.
Yeah.
I think that's part
I
of
agree,
it.
but the thing, it's almost like you can look at them and be like, I ain't that fucked up.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. We're all one bad day away from.
Yeah, you're right. I'm one bad day away from dressing like a fucking chicken.
Right. I've said it before that there's a fine line, and comedians have done bits about this, that between sanity and insanity, and I often quote Bill Burr. I'll do it again. But when you're driving down that street and there's a whole herd of people walking on the sidewalk and you're just having one of those days, the line between sanity and insanity is just turning that wheel slightly to the right and just mowing down a whole herd of people.
What's fucked
up,
though,
luckily, we're sane and we don't do that. And that's what defines us.
There's more people that do that shit. You hear about, you wouldn't believe what happened in Tulsa today. And some asshole jumped the curb and hit 27 people.
But, I mean, look, I think it's human nature to maybe not have that radical of a thought that you want to go and do a mass killing. But people have thoughts, and people have hatred, and they have just seething anger inside them. And luckily, the majority of people
have reason
and can control those emotions and move on with their damn life and not go kill
opposable thumbs. Hashtag opposable thumbs.
Yeah. No, it's just, but it's scary that there's a lot of people out there on the brink of insanity, and probably more today than there have been in our history.
Yeah,
Fuck, and three of them in this room.
Way more than we'd like to admit, probably.
Yeah.
They're all around us, neighbors and
Falling Down.
Politicians.
Falling Down.
That's a great movie.
Great movie.
I mean, that dude. He hit his limit, and I think there's a lot of guys like that out there. I joke about it that I'm having a falling down day where but I don't. I mean, there's probably a lot of people out there that are a hell of a lot closer to that than I can ever imagine being. And that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
this was fun. Whose idea was this? This was
I don't know.
Jesus. Now I'm scared. I'm gonna need someone to tuck me in.
I'm sure there's someone in your closet.
Oh, fuck. Hopefully it's that progressive lady.
Or that monster under the bed. Oh shit.
Yeah. As a little aside before we wrap it up. So lately, our dog has been acting strange, nervous, and clingy, following us around the house. And kind of acting like looking around at different things as if
someone's in the house.
Yeah. And she was kind of doing that for a couple weeks. Not so much. It seems like it's been a week or two since she's been doing that. But there was this stretch where, my wife would be home alone with the dog, and the dog's freaking out. Not freaking out, but just kind of being weird enough that my wife was definitely nervous. And she said she was going around the house, checking every closet, checking under every bed, looking everywhere she could. Just to see, is somebody here?
Giving them plenty of run time before she shot them.
Right.
You need to go, because I'll hit you in about 10 minutes.
I got to think about this really hard, but I'm going to shoot you.
Yep. But
right in the ass.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird. And I saw it too. I remember seeing the dog just kind of being weird, and it was like, what?
So your house is haunted.
Yeah, maybe we got maybe Drippy made its way over to our house.
Well, Drippy's another episode, another Halloween episode.
That one, so.
That's a gonorrhea episode.
Raw kind of Drippy. We could do that one though too. No, but I've heard that before.
Gonorrhea episode? No, I can't do that one.
You can do an STD episode. No, the dog staring at or just acting weird or whatever. My dogs have stared at walls or just stare at the sofa. Like no one's sitting on the sofa, and they'll sit and just stare where a human head would be if a normal sized human would be sitting on it.
You have a haunting. Dude, you are haunted, Ryan.
But so
at the end of the day,
your dog might be chasing some apparition around here too.
They're fucking dogs. Dogs are stupid as shit.
They are kind of dumb.
Yeah.
My dog also.
I do know.
He
dogs
chases
stupid as shit.
You can read them.
Whenever your watch or like a reflection from the sun, he'll chase that around too. So he's obviously not the brightest bulb, but
dogs are stupid.
They are. But, all right. Well, until next time, that'll be enough for this episode.
Yeah.
Let's get the social media out there.
Yep. Make sure you shoot us an email. Loadthispodcast@gmail.com if you want
to fuck you Cubs.
Yeah. If you want to confess your serial killings to us or leave us a hint as to where. Don't please don't do that.
Well, if I can write a book and lie, I'm all about that. I swear he sent me all kinds of stuff. I want to be able to make
the Load This Podcast guys have tracked down the Zodiac Killer finally after all these years. All it took was a 30-minute podcast. 40-minute, whatever we're at now.
We're hitting 40 now.
Yeah. Anyway, Load This Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure you subscribe on whatever app you choose to listen to podcasts on.
And give us a review.
And let us know that you're listening. So, that's all I got.
All right. Until next time, I'm Jared.
I'm Ryan.
And, hey, last little RIP Dennis. This is Joe.
Get a load of this.